Hi Renu, are you there?
Am I
Yeah,
audible?
yeah. Yes, you are now.
Yes, yes. Thank you. Yeah.
I can't see you though. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Hi. Good evening, all of you. Thank you so much for taking out the time to join us today. There was some sort of technical issue. But before we start, I would really want you all to keep if possible, keep your cameras on, and you can put your microphones on mute for now. We will let you talk at the end of the session. And if you have any questions you want to add in your points to whatever we are discussing today, you can use the chat box for it. Okay. So before we start, I'll just introduce myself. My name is Renu Yadav. I
Renu, sorry, Renu, just 1 second. Your video has frozen. So, not sure why that is. We can hear you okay, but your video has frozen.
okay. Just a minute. I'll check.
Yeah, okay.
Is it better now? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I was just saying that I'll just introduce myself and what are we going to do today and what are we going to talk about today. So, yes. Hi, everyone. My name is Renu Yadav. I lead the Female Athlete Nutrition Vertical at Simply Sport Foundation. And we have with us our expert today, Aditi Mutatkar. She is a former international badminton player and currently heads the Athlete and Women's Initiative at Simply Sport Foundation. So thank you so much, Aditi, for taking out the time today and for being here with us.
Thank you.
So just to give a brief intro about what our foundation does, we essentially work and support female grassroots athletes, and our major focus is on female athletes as well. And that is why we have like different programs, but we have this particular program called as Women in Sport Health Program, under which we do multiple things. But in that, we also do workshops that are based on for female athletes and coaches on menstruation, nutrition, and mental health. So that is something that we do. And recently, we collaborated with Liverpool John Moores University, and they also believed in all of this. That is why they collaborated with us, and that is how we were able to create this entire webinar series with them. So we will have experts from LJMU as well in this entire 8-part series that we will do in this month. So yeah, that is the entire introduction. So before we begin and we discuss things with Aditi, I have like few things that I really want to talk about today. So all of us get on a same page and we understand that why we are doing what we are doing, right? So why this entire series is happening, this session is happening. So for that, I'll be just presenting my screen, and you guys can put a thumbs up if you are able to see the screen, please. So,
Yeah, we can see the screen, but your video is still stuck, at least for me. But that's okay. Let's continue.
yeah, yes. Are you able to hear me at least?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
Able to
Yeah.
hear you. Also, sorry, there's somebody on the chat saying that are we putting anybody on the wait list, or is it an open the thing that we have? Because there are some people on the wait list. If you can just once check before you start.
Yeah. Just. Sure.
Maybe you can just shut down the wait list so that it's easier for people to get in.
I am not able to see anybody though on the wait
Okay,
list
then that's fine.
right
Okay.
now.
Okay.
Yes. So, Yeah. So the topic today that we'll be talking about, and obviously Aditi will have her own points to talk about, is barriers to participation in sport for female athletes. So before we begin, I want all of us to understand a few things about female athletes that we might know, we might not know. So this is just a brief about all of that. So yes. So, what's different in a female athlete, right? So, she gets her periods, she experiences hormonal changes throughout the month, and she has a different body composition. All of these things, whatever I have said, it's very basic and we know about it, right? Or most of us know about it. But then, where's the gap? Where is the problem, right? That is something that we need to understand. The gap is where we choose to ignore these things when we are planning their nutrition, when we are planning their training. The gap is when we don't try and do more of research regarding female athletes when they need it. It can be about anything, not just nutrition, it can be about anything, right? And the last thing, we expect our female athletes to fit into things that are created for male athletes. That is something where the gap happens. And there are multiple other things too that we'll be discussing today. But these are few things that, as experts, also at times we forget and we choose to ignore things like that. So, one thing to remember at all times is that a woman is not a smaller version of a man, right? So we'll have to think about her physiology, her psychology, everything related to her. That is when we are helping our female athletes. Otherwise, we are not tapping into their potential at all, especially if we see we have, even though in Olympics we have seen like equal participation and stuff like that, but when we go on to grassroots level, it is not the same scenario. So, just to help our female athletes, we should know things like that. And I understand that most of us here might not be from a sports science background or might not know about things, but at least from these sessions, you will try and learn something very basic as well to support your female athletes. That is our aim, and that is why we are doing this. So next is some of the stats that I feel, yes, whoever is raising their hand, after I finish talking, maybe if you can, I'll definitely, uh, otherwise you can put in the chat box maybe, because then it will save our time as well, and then I can answer it at the end. Yeah. So some of the stats that are very Indian specific, India specific, around 50 to 60% of female athletes are anemic, right? So that is something that is a very deep rooted problem in India, and we know about it. Not just athletes, generally women, children, all are affected by it, right? Then there is 4.32 times higher risk of vitamin D deficiency in female athletes than in male athletes. Okay. Then comes 55% of college level female athletes were found to be underweight. Now, all of these might seem like numbers to you and to all of us here. Like these are numbers, these are stats that we have received from research papers and all of that. But from the lens that I see and our team sees it, is these are stories, these are people, these are actual female athletes that are getting affected by all of this. And that is why we, as experts or people who work with female athletes, should also know about all of this. So, coming to real stories, I know Aditi will have multiple stories to talk about soon, but I have this one particular story that I really want to talk about, and that has really affected or impacted my thinking about female athletes, especially in India, because as I mentioned, we do workshops at Simply Sport. A part of our work is conducting workshops. So in that, We visit multiple locations throughout India, and it's not, high end, full facilities, wala, academies. It is always like very grassroots level academies that we go to. So we there are no sports scientists, there are no labs at times, there are nothing at times. There's no facility for female athletes as such, not for male athletes as well. And some of you, if you work with grassroots athletes, you might be knowing about it, and you can also put that up in the chat. What are some of the things that you have seen? So we also try to connect with it, and then we discuss those things here. So coming to the story part, so this was last year. I joined the Simply Sport Foundation, then I went to one of the workshops in Uttar Pradesh. There was this one particular female athlete. She was into weightlifting, just 15 to 16 years old. And after workshops, we usually interact and talk to our athletes, and they ask us questions. That was something that was happening. And it was lunchtime. So all of her friends went to have lunch, but she stayed back. So in my mind, I was thinking maybe she likes us a lot, and that is why she's staying back. And that is something that came up. Like she was asking us questions, where are we from, and very basic things. But then I asked where all of your friends went. Why are you not going and having lunch in the mess? So her reply was that I am competing in a particular weight category. I want to get into that, and I am overweight by like 2 kgs or something. That is why my coach told me to lose weight. Now, the coach obviously didn't have much understanding as to how to guide her to lose weight, and the kid also didn't know about it. So she stopped eating. She started skipping meals. And obviously, as a person who would want to know more about like what are the issues that she's facing, so I asked her if she's facing any problems related to her energy levels, her menstrual cycle, and things like that. So after that particular incident, because we don't stay with them for a really long time, and because we just go there for a few hours, we talk to them and then we come back, it is not possible for us to guide them for the entire thing. But that particular thing stayed with me. That particular thing led me to do what we are doing right now at Simply Sport. And that is something that we also want to give to all of you, so that you can support your female athletes in whichever capacity. In whichever capacity. It's not necessarily you have to be a nutritionist to know about basics of nutrition. Even though you can identify their red flags or what is concerning, would really help them, because we cannot be ignorant about these things, especially with our female athletes. And with the research part and very systemic things, we understand all of that. It is very limited. But as somebody who has studied, I have done my masters in sports nutrition, and I keep on telling this to people that we only had one module for female athlete nutrition, and there was nothing else that was ever taught, not about the physiology. We were always taught about things that are generic and mostly male specific. So, this is something that we will be discussing in the coming sessions as well. So today we will be discussing few things with Aditi, because she was an athlete herself, and she has experienced and has seen firsthand what are some of the challenges that an Indian female athlete has to go through. So yes, Aditi, hi. Thank you so much for waiting patiently until I finished talking. So till now, anybody has any questions, they can put in the chat if there's anything.
Yeah. So I think there are no questions as such yet. I think you can stop the presentation so that we can just have a free flowing talk. Um, and yeah, I think and also just check once the waiting list, if at all, there's anybody there, or just to be safe. Is anybody there? Can we continue?
Mm, just one person. Yeah. Done.
Great. So yeah, so I think thank you, Renu, for all of these statistics and your experience and the passion with which you spoke is exactly what brings all of us here, because we are all really here to understand how what we can do for our athletes, and especially athletes who are female. One thing that I request everyone who has joined today is to see if they can switch on their videos, whoever can. I understand there is people might be moving around, or there might be network issues, but जिनको भी जम रहा है, I'll just encourage everybody to switch on their videos. It just helps to know that we are talking to humans on the other side, and we're not just here by ourselves. So yeah, so Renu, shoot, what are the questions that you have for me?
Yeah. So, to begin with, I just wanted to understand that what were some of the struggles or issues, that challenges that you faced as an athlete early on, as well as when you reached that level, when you became more athlete, you started participating in international levels and stuff like that. So, what were some of the challenges? It can be generic as well as
Yeah. Yeah, hello. So am I audible, guys? I think we lost Renu. Can somebody tell me if I'm audible?
Yes.
Yeah.
yeah.
So yeah. So I think one of the things that as a female athlete, growing up, I remember that, I mean, I'm of course much older than a lot of athletes currently, and my access to sports science was extremely limited. And at that point, in terms of having we just had one sort of, strength and conditioning coach generally with us, and we would sort of, work with that coach, and they would be our everything, right? They would guide us ki ye khana chahiye, anda khao, omelette khao, chicken khao, all of that. So we didn't have like a specific person or individual helping us with nutrition. That was number one. That was the first challenge, and I see that challenge even today for a lot of our athletes and lot of our. And this is not a male female thing, but it's just generally at the grassroots level when you start off, especially the access is really really limited, and not everybody can afford it also. So the affording part is another problem. So access, I think, is number one. The second part of it is the whole idea of veg non-veg. I think we don't understand, a lot of times, a lot of young athletes in India might prefer vegetarian options, and may not have access to non-veg, or may have religious sort of beliefs around it. So in terms of the protein and things which maybe vegetarian options may not have, what can I do as an athlete, to be able to get that protein or get that nutrition which maybe my vegetarian food doesn't give me. So I didn't have any knowledge. I was just told कि आपको non-veg बनना ही पड़ेगा, otherwise there will be no protein, or anything that you will get. And that switch, I mean, I made that switch, but I see a lot of athletes struggling with that switch as well, right? So that was another thing that I would face. The third thing that I felt was, like you also already spoke about it, that physiology, or my period, for example, I had no knowledge about that, in terms of how it interplays with me, with my playing and all of that. And I was actually quite a heavy bleeder. My periods were quite heavy, and I would actually, and I was also actually anemic, like you gave us a statistic in the beginning. I was anemic because I had a condition called thalassemia minor, which made me anemic as well. So combination of being anemic and plus having sort of a heavy period all the time, it was not a great combination for me. And because I didn't have a nutritional input really, I just didn't know what am I supposed to do. And a lot of times I would, I remember that the thalassemia condition came in much later. That it was told to me much later, and I remember taking injections for iron, and I remember being so painful. And I just didn't know what was a nutritional option for me, to be able to be non-anemic or not have anemia. I didn't know. I of course know कि खजूर खाना चाहिए, and you know the regular grandma के नुस्खे जो होते हैं, but the grandma नुस्खे doesn't help a female athlete who is playing at the elite levels, right? So I think the anemia problem was something that I relate to a lot, because fatigue levels and all of that was quite big for me. My recovery was not as great. So all of this I know is connected to nutrition. The other challenge that I do believe I faced was around how I thought my body was, and that's why what did I restrict and what did I not. So I remember that I was always told that I my hips are quite heavy, and we talk about body image, and maybe in the next few sessions when we look at psychology and female athletes, you'll know what body image is and all of that. But I was somebody who always was very conscious about how I look and how my my hips are, because I was told those are heavy, I need to lose weight, otherwise you'll not be able to move as fast and all of that. So it took me a very long time to accept myself as I am, and it also sort of always stayed with me. Even today when I look back at it, I do feel that I am fatter than I need to be, and that's not a good place for a female athlete to be. And this was told to me by a lot of my coaches, a lot of my sports scientists, my friends, my peers. So that messaging was not something that was really helping me a lot in the hindsight. The last thing that I'll add here is one of the things that also, as a young athlete, I did not enjoy going to a nutritionist so much, because I just felt that there was a lot of unrealistic expectation set on me कि बस sprouts ही खाना चाहिए, या I mean, first of all, the whole practice of getting all these things that the nutritionist was telling me, so many things have to be added to my meals. I wasn't I would be tired just looking at that plan. The other thing was, if they told me कि dessert खाना ही नहीं है, don't eat desserts at all, you have to stop your desserts, कुछ नहीं खाना है. As a young girl, very difficult to do यार. मतलब I want my chocolate pastry. So as nutritionist, I felt that अगर कोई मुझे बोलता है कि नहीं pastry खानी नहीं है, chocolate खाना नहीं है, that was a very difficult thing to follow. And maybe a lot of athletes are able to follow it, but I always sort of felt that agar I'm not happy, if something makes me happy, why am I being told not to do it? And especially if I'm doing it say once a week, I'm having one cheat meal a week, usko bhi nahi karna hai agar koi mujhe nutritionist bolta hai, so that would actually make me a little distant from the nutritionist as well. That is also something that I felt ki how strict and what kind of plans are you giving to an athlete, how are you making her transition from eating what she likes to maybe slowly transitioning to sort of modifying it and all of that. So the messaging, the way you plan your nutrition and talk to your athletes also mattered. So I think these are some of the themes that I tackled as a young athlete, and this is what I remember in my nutrition journey, at least.
That's great, Aditi. So the next thing I wanted to understand is, because you have been working in this space for a really long time now, and you get to see a lot of female athletes around you. So what is something that you have observed in them? It can be very similar to what you have experienced, but very deep rooted things, because at grassroots and at elite level it is very different. The challenges might be very different. So what is something that you have seen in terms of, maybe again nutrition related it can be, but then general also, it can be systemic things also that is not completely in our hands, but yeah, that is something I wanted to understand from you.
Yeah, I think when we think about nutrition and the way I have seen it for the last 3-4 years now on the field, and especially, and again, I'm talking more from the grassroots, sort of thing, and not from an elite level at all. I just feel that 2-3 things. One is that a lot of our young athletes actually live in centers, and centers which are common, right? Now you see our Sanskriti Samvardhan Mandal girls here are very attentively listening to us, and it's so nice to have. But for example, staying in these residential sort of facilities and staying together. Now, what tends to happen is that a lot of these facilities have common nutrition plans, right? Like sabzi, roti, dal, chawal, salad. And that is fine. I mean, that is I mean, that you can't maybe customize it for each athlete, and that customization is exactly what makes nutrition better, right? I mean, and उस पे आप female athlete और add कर दो तो और भी complication बढ़ रही है हमारी. तो ये जो nuance है in terms of giving food to a mass number of people, and I would go into all these centers for my junior camps, and I would train in academies, and we always had mess food, and mess food was something that most of the athletes would either dread or would say कि अरे यार संडे है तो चलो पिज्जा खाते हैं. So I think Dhaneshwar is saying कि आप हिंदी में भी बात करिए. Dhaneshwar, the only problem with that is कि हमें थोड़े से हमारे जो participants हैं वो इंडिया के बाहर से भी हैं, तो हमें थोड़ा सा वो maintain करना पड़ेगा. So I can't go completely हिंदी. तो जितना मैं हो सके I'll keep shifting, but वो हमें शायद majority English में ही बात करनी पड़ेगी, just to be available for everyone. So sorry. So what I'm trying to say is the center. So customization of food is very difficult. The second part of it is that India is such a diverse country, and every state, every district has its own way of eating food. So as nutritionists, protein and macronutrients is fine, but उसका delivery आप कैसे करोगे? मतलब छत्तीसगढ़ में जो खाना मिलता है वो महाराष्ट्र में नहीं मिलता है, जो महाराष्ट्र में मिलता है वो छत्तीसगढ़ में नहीं मिलता है. तो इन चीजों को आप कस्टमाइज करके जो वहां पे locally available है, how do you make nutrition available for these girls, right? Where they are and what they can actually get. That part of it I don't see happening, because we do give very general sort of things to them, and they say कि sir ma'am हमारे पास तो ये मिलता ही नहीं है. So that is the other part of it, that culturally relevant, location relevant food. The next part of it is that because of this anemia problem, because of the vitamin D issue, and a lot of girls suffering from hormonal challenges in terms of the menstrual health part of it, और उनको पता भी नहीं होता. A lot of them don't even know that they are in the red zone or they are in the red flag zone. नहीं पता होता. A lot of athletes don't know that, and they don't know that a lot of it is based on nutrition, what they eat. It's very very important that they know it, but उनको वो समझ में नहीं आता कि ये सब connected है. So the education of making them understand how are all these things connected, and then of course the connection of it to performance, ये बहुत आसान शब्दों में, जैसे मैं अभी ट्राई कर रही हूँ हिंदी में बीच बीच तो में हम कैसे इसके लिए कुछ कर सकते हैं जो लड़कियों को समझ में आए. The more sport scientific you get in terms of how you talk, the more you lose the athletes, especially. कितनी simple है also matters a lot. That is be something we learned very, it was very a very difficult lesson for us to learn, but luckily we learned, and we simplified things as much as possible so that they understand it, right? So I think the customization वाला जो part है वो थोड़ा मुझे लगता है something that is very difficult to do in India, regionally, culturally, but also because a lot of our girls live in centers, and how do centers then customize and individualize nutrition for every athlete? That I think is the biggest challenge that I see. And the third part is just the education, that the connection of how nutrition is connected to their menstrual health, to performance, to overall well-being. वो समझ कैसे इनमें लाएं is the third challenge that I see.
Yeah, Aditi, I completely agree with you on this point, because whenever we go and visit places, the girls are absolutely clueless that their nutrition can impact their menstrual cycle.
Yes.
Whenever we ask this question, it is always like, no, it is not related at all. खाने का कैसे संबंध हो सकता है periods के साथ? It is not related. But then that is where education and awareness should be important, because for any athlete in general, not just for female athletes, a lot of times there's so much misinformation, and also because of we have AI more than Google Chrome and all of that. We now have AI. So a lot of times, whenever we also discuss with female athletes, it has come up that we use Chat GPT as we cannot follow the diet plan created by the sports nutritionist, because it
Yeah,
is much more easier. It is understanding us better, and whatever the sports nutritionist is creating for us, it is very difficult to follow.
yeah,
And
yeah,
whatever is easier for them, obviously an athlete would choose that and not what is the best one. So
yeah,
yes, making it more simpler, making it more easier for them to access those things, it is really really important. So yeah,
yeah.
that is something that we all should even think about. And if any one of you, like, if you also have had like such experiences or might have noticed things like that, you can put that up in the chat again. This is like really important, as we will be listening and reading to all of this at the end. So it is very important for all of us to get on the same page and understand, अच्छा ये सबके साथ ही problems है. This is happening to not just one. This is not just me observing things. This is not just Aditi observing things. This is all of us thinking about the ski and nutritional problem India में exist करता है, especially with female athletes, because again people usually are like, culturally also people ask female athletes to look a certain way and stuff like that happens. So yes, I agree that on that, Aditi.
Yeah,
And yeah, just yes.
I just wanted to add one more thing around supplements, and what are we recommending and how are we recommending our supplements. I just feel that the supplement wala whole piece has to be, I mean, I've seen very very young athletes not knowing that they take up a supplement, a nutritionist has maybe mentioned, and it has not worked well with her, the whole hormonal sort of cycle, her, and she's not understanding why she's not having her period, and then all of that sort of khichdi happening, and then she doesn't know where to go with this, because mujhe to kaha gaya tha ki itna scoop lo, or all of that. So I think supplementation and the route of it, nothing bad or anything in it, but I just feel ki आप किसको दे रहे हो, उसकी पूरी body composition क्या है, उसकी requirement क्या है, be very careful with that. The other thing that we have also seen is a lot of young girls take up supplements which they find actually on the internet, or they see some influencer talking about it, and that it will make you lose weight, or it will majorly about losing weight, and they take up a supplement, and there are again side effects to it. One of the girls I spoke to actually got caught in the doping thing also because of it, because she didn't know she was taking something that was in the doping list. So I feel the other challenge now that every one of us is going to face, in addition, and it's more so for the girls again, because like you said, we have to look a certain way, we have to fit in that whole cultural sort of nuance of being a girl in India. तो उस वो pressure और भी है, and then we go on the internet, and the internet is a very good thing, but it is also a very bad thing if it is not used with the right knowledge and the right sort of expertise attached to it, right? So that's another danger that all of the nutritionists are going to face, कि आप ये जो टेक है और एआई है और सोशल मीडिया है, इससे अपने एथलीट्स को बचा के how are you going to give them what is really right and what is really required for them, right? So that is another challenge that I see, that you guys are going to face, especially because
Yeah. uh, so just a follow-up question on this, Aditi. Like, now this is very female athlete specific, but how is it, when we compare it with male athletes, how is it very different for a female athlete? The similar, it might be on similar lines as well, but what is something that might be easier for a male athlete and is not so easy for a female athlete? It can be very basic things as well, but yeah, that's what something I wanted to understand from you.
Yeah, no, so I think in terms of, the micronutrients part of things, and I don't want to go into the sport science part of it because I'm not an expert, but I just feel, and maybe in the future sessions we will have sessions on micro and micronutrients, and I know that the micronutrients part for the female athlete is much more important, and it is something that generally is lacking in female athletes, and if it is lacking in female athletes, it has a more adverse effect on the female athlete than maybe on the male athlete. athlete. That is one thing that research shows, and general experience also has sort of told us that in terms of the grassroots space. But I know that, and I've spoken about this with a lot of girls in across India, again from a more grassroots lens and not an urban lens. That most of these girls are part of bigger families at home, and when they're part of bigger families at home, and there is a choice to be made between the son versus the daughter, it does seem to happen that a lot of girls are actually given second preference in terms of what's remaining in the house, and then sometimes sort of not getting a roti extra that she needs, because everybody else needs to have that roti first before
अम्मा
she can.
अगर आप मेरे लिए कुछ दिलाओगे
So
तो मैं
that
अपना
again is
महिंद्रा
sorry for that. I hope I'm audible again. So yeah, so it does seem to there is social cultural conditioning there for a lot of young girls, where they are giving second preference in terms of what they are given in terms of choices of food that they can have at home, if they're part of a bigger family. That is something that has come up in a lot of our chit chat with the female athletes that we have in India. The other thing that that comes up, like I said, is the micronutrient nutrient piece. Some of the research that has come up more now is on protein, and I would really encourage everyone that you pay attention to that those things, because I think the protein part of it is a little different for female athletes versus the male athletes. I think that is a key for us in terms of how we are going to perform, how we are going to feel health wise. So I think that is the third thing that I feel that is slightly sort of different. The other thing that I struggle with a lot, and feel it's very very unfair, is the fat mass that girls have to carry, because their sole sort of thing that their body is meant to do is reproduce and have kids, and we're supposed to have that fat, and it's supposed to be good, but it also is a problem in terms of where it accumulates, how it accumulates, and how we then feel in terms of being on the court, and how difficult it can get for a lot of girls to actually lose that fat, right? So that is also something that I feel is something that is a little more difficult for girls to do, and especially during that time. And lastly, I feel the whole experience with puberty, right? So the age group between 9 to 12, 9 to 14 is when girls are in their when everything is changing for them, right? From the breast developing to their hips, to sort of the period incoming and all of that. I feel a lot of girls are, when they don't eat right during that part of the period, and this is in urban centers as well, where if you don't have the right nutrition parameters for them, or if they are not eating correctly, we actually have the danger of, because they are not eating correctly, them not developing properly, and that actually leading them to injuries, and that actually leading them to drop out from sports as well. So puberty ke time pe, where the body is really developing, how are we feeding our girls, and making sure that everything is in place, and a lot of girls have irregular periods when they start out. So बहुत सी changes उस time पे होते हैं. So I think during that time it becomes extra important that we are feeding them the correct amount of food, right? Because a lot of different things are happening in their body. So I think these are the 3-4 things that I feel are maybe a little sort of specific to girls and their experiences that I have seen in the last 3-4 years.
Yeah, that is great, Aditi. Have you ever come across, like, can you share a story with us or any incident and an example maybe where you have seen an athlete struggle with nutrition so much that it has impacted their performance and training, and maybe that has led to maybe their dropout or something like that. So is there something like an example or a story related to this?
No, I mean, like we speak about anemia and all of that. A lot of girls and even children. I mean, are actually underweight and malnourished in India. I mean, हमारे देश में बहुत से जो बच्चे हैं who come from from poorer backgrounds and from villages, a lot of them are actually underweight and malnourished. And if you see, India has some of the best talent that is coming out of India comes from the rural spaces, and from spaces which are difficult to actually get access to sports. It's a very interesting sort of dichotomy, but this is also true that a lot of girls that we meet in our workshops are underweight. A lot of girls are stunted. The growth is stunted for a lot of them, and they don't know what to do. And it's also about just the financial part of it. Like, a lot of them are just not able to afford the basic kind of requirements that they need to have to be able to be just healthy. Forget the playing part. Just being healthy can become tough for them. So this whole idea of being the underweight, being malnourished, actually is not that uncommon. And as nutritionists who are more keen of working in difficult spaces in India, in grassroots spaces in India, you will see this happening quite a lot, and it's a real challenge. So I mean, it would be nice if as nutritionists you can help with this in terms of how we can get this accessible. The other part of this which I feel is very very important, and that we don't do enough in the sport ecosystem, is are we having conversations with the parents of these girls? Because I think a mother or a father, the way they look at a girl who only studies, and the way they look at a girl who studies and plays and trains, the requirements are a little different. So do the parents know about it? And are we having conversations with the parents, especially for the younger girls, कि उन्हें क्या करना चाहिए and what will really help them? So are we making them a part of these conversations is something that we need to check for, because it becomes difficult, I understand, to reach out to the parents. But I feel that a lot of times, or administrators, for example, a lot of girls we said live in centers. So क्या हम administrators से भी बात कर रहे हैं कि आप ये plan कैसे बना रहे हो, हमको क्या दिख रहा है, how can you help the girls, and things like that. So I feel that is another thing that needs to happen, that the parents actually can't bifurcate between a girl who only studies, a daughter who only studies, and a daughter who also plays, and that's why what are the additional requirements that she might have, right? So that is another sort of thing that I see sort of missing, that the conversation is limited to only talking to the athlete, and actually the athlete doesn't have the buying power, or she actually doesn't have any control most of the time on what is going to be put on her plate. So क्या हम audience ठीक से choose कर रहे हैं, especially in the grassroots ecosystem, and especially in the younger athlete age group, right? So I think that is something that also we need to check for here, because जब तक जो उनको खाना पका के दे रहे हैं उनसे बात नहीं होती है, या जो उनको खरीद के चीजें देने वाले हैं उनसे बात नहीं होती है, शायद एक फीमेल एथलीट कुछ कर नहीं पाने वाली है उसके बारे में, even if you give her the best plan in the world. So that is the other thing that I feel is a little lacking, in terms of are we educating the right people as well? So yeah, I think these are some of the things that that I have seen and I feel should be addressed.
Yeah. So these are some of the important things as well, Aditi, I feel, because when we don't involve parents or somebody who's a senior person in there, we can just give advices and the kids would be like, okay, अब तो हो गया, अब सुन लिया, session कर लिया, हो गया, बस टाटा बाय बाय.
Yeah.
But then what do we do about it? How do we track it? How do we know what is their nutrition level? How they are eating actually? And that is something that as anybody, in fact, not just sports nutritionist, all of us have this responsibility. And we also have like basic things like maintaining a diary, maybe what they are eating, at least to see what they are having. And I understand athletes are too tired to even fill something, and all of that happens. This is an additional reason that we can think about. But then it is important to create that habit. It can be not just related to nutrition, menstruation also, which is a really important part of female athlete. And that
Yes.
is something we always forget and we don't consider it, especially in their nutrition, when we are planning their nutrition or in fact their training as well. So that
Yeah.
is something that we should focus on, and I completely agree with what you said. So yeah, just one last question for you. what are the 2 or 3 things you feel are actually are like some of the barriers that currently Indian female athlete face? Just 2 3 things. Maybe you have already mentioned, but just to summarize it for people here, some barriers that female athlete in terms of nutrition are facing right now.
Mm, yeah, no, I think like the first baseline that we need to solve for is education. Education, not just of the female athlete, but people who have the power in their hands and who are going to help them. So, like I said, administrators, parents, who are going to actually feed them, who are going to make the decisions for them. I think that is the first part of it. That educate. I think that's what we do through our workshops currently, because we realize that the baseline is low, and everybody needs to first understand khana kya hai. So I think the first part of it is education. The second part of it is the language that we use. What is the language that we are using for our female athletes? How are we telling her that she is not healthy enough? I'm telling you from my experience. I've told you about it. I also will tell you from all the other experiences. And here there is, I think, Madhuparna, who has put on the chat that a lot of girls would not do upper body workout because they would feel manly, and they would get scared. And this is a body image issue. And kidding, but in Sakshi Malik's book, she speaks about how young boys and young when they were younger, and athletes would speak about how big her biceps were. And for a very very long time in her life, till she actually came close to retirement, she would be scared of wearing sleeveless tops, because she would be scared that her biceps will look too manly or too big. And she would be uncomfortable because of that. And you don't want to put anybody in that position. So I think the language and the tone that we use around food, around nutrition, around how we tell an athlete that she needs to do better is very very important. It can make or break her, because we know from science and research that body image issues are a lot more for a female athlete worldwide. I mean, not just in India, right? So it's important that that is something that we take care of. The third part of it is, I really do believe that as if we really want to help our female athletes, access is something that we will need to solve for. Access in terms of the financial part of it, the localization of nutrition plans. You cannot have general nutrition in terms of the states, from the places that they come from. It has to be accessible to them. If they are in Chhattisgarh में वो खाना मिलना चाहिए, तभी आप recommend करो. Don't tell them to eat paneer if they are not going to be able to eat paneer, right? So that is something that we need to really look at for India. Very very specific to where they come from, what is the location, what is available for them. So access, I think, is something that you need to cater to as what you give your athlete. And the last part I would say is, please, as nutritionists, and I'm talking from a very athlete sort of point of view here, do not go to extremes in terms of your diet plans. I really feel that is very, and it might work for one athlete and it may not work for the other. But I've seen that majority of the athletes actually stop going to a nutritionist because it's just extreme. That you're putting them on a sprout diet from a normal pori bhaji, that we say in Marathi, roti sabzi chhod ke bas sprout khao. When something like that happens, or when you say no dessert forever, I just feel that it might work for a Djokovic, but it may not work for me. And I'm, because I like my diet. So extreme things, especially when the athlete is not ready, is going to actually change her relationship with food. I think the relationship and food is a very a psychological thing. And in India, especially with the amount of food that we have and the specialities that we have, it's a very psychological thing. So it's very important to understand that, and sort of have understand that फूड के साथ एक एथलीट की रिलेशनशिप आपको हमेशा अच्छी रखनी पड़ेगी, स्पेशली एक फीमेल एथलीट की. अदरवाइज शी इज गोइंग टू हैव बोथ मेंटल एंड फिजिकल प्रॉब्लम्स, एंड विच अल्टीमेटली विल लीड टू menstrual issues, which ultimately leads to injuries, which ultimately leads to dropouts, and all of that. So I think these are some 3-4 things that I would say are super super important, from the athlete point of view, at least from where I come from.
Yeah, that is really important. Actually, that is why a lot of athletes prefer to choose ChatGPT over
Yeah.
an expert's advice. because they find it really extreme. They are not able to find the locally available food. So we cannot ask an athlete living somewhere in rural India to have like a avocado toast or stuff like that, like superfoods. We cannot give them. There are like local foods, and most of the nutritionists, I believe, right now, they do follow this locally available food thing and they do suggest it. The only problem is sometimes the athlete's perspective is like, okay, if they see other athletes not in the same academy, they see them having very exotic food and stuff like that, they assume this is better than our food. And that is where the problem is. So having that relationship with food is really important. Having a really good relationship with food is really important, because then the athlete would know, okay, my food, whatever I'm having, is also equally nutritious. I don't have to go around searching for some seeds or avocado. Yes, it is healthy, and whoever can afford and can have it. Nobody is stopping them. But the thing is, cultural relevance is really important and should no one should go on extremes with the diet and everything. So yeah, that is something that I really resonate with, because I see, and from you, Aditi, talking from a perspective of an athlete, I from the perspective of somebody who has worked with athletes in this space. So I completely understand what an athlete might feel. So yeah, these were my questions. So we are about to end our session as well. So we can just take one or two questions from the audience, maybe first. And does anyone has any questions? They can raise their hand and unmute maybe and directly speak. I will also check the chat if there are questions. One or two we can take up right now, or else the pre-session form that was shared with you. Please write your questions there. If we are not able to answer it in our sessions, we will make a FAQ document for you all to send it in the group every week, so that if you attend two sessions, whatever questions you had in those two sessions, you will get a FAQ document in the group. So yeah, does anyone? Yeah, there's Jason. Yes, Jason, you can unmute yourself and can ask the question. Yes.
Yes, so my question, I think a lot of information what you have shared is basically for the ones I mean who can afford and who can I mean basic things who can afford. I think I am running a sports NGO where we work with children from challenging environments where the whole aim is to reduce crime rates and address gender-based violence. And we work with red light area children, children from prison, and a lot of other challenging environment students. So the challenge, I mean, we try to give them nutrition after every game. We take them to professional sports facilities, and we try to give them the best. So the more challenge is like at home, back home, they have given them checklist what needs to be done. Do not eat outside food, and a lot of these things what we try to manage manually. But yeah, I think what you are recommending that okay at home, all these are the parents who give them food. I think all daily wage workers, and to explain them on a daily basis to how to ensure their child's growth. I think it's hardly a concern for them. It's more of a concern of me. To kind of ensure that they eat good, they stay healthy, get good nutrition, and also so that they'll be able to perform well and have and not be prone to injury. So how would you answer from this kind of environment? Yeah, just wanted to know your thoughts on that. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. So Jason, thank you for that question. So I think from where you're coming from, and we have seen, a lot of these sort of girls in our workshops as well. And like you rightly said, it's extremely difficult. A lot of the like I said, that the parents should know, and all of these are luxuries at a lot of level, and it's very difficult to sort of get the parents to sit in one place as if they're daily wage laborers, for them to come down and actually do a nutrition session with you. That can be super tough, and not realistic for a lot of our girls, parents, and stuff like that. I completely understand. I completely understand that. I think in terms of how and what we can do, I just feel for a lot of our the sports related programs, we are all sort of a little wary about nutrition में हमें क्या मतलब fund, when we ask for funding from people, do we ask funding for nutrition specifically? That is one thing that we need to think about, कि nutrition के लिए क्या हम funding मांगते हैं as a grassroots organization, and are we able to get any funding for nutrition, and if not, are we able to put up a story as to why this piece is very important, and we need to get funds to just be able to feed our girls, because then that's the only way they are going to be able to sustain playing or pursuing sport. So the funding lens on this is very important, that are we able to raise and get funds actually specifically to nutrition. That is one thing that I feel is very important. The second thing that I feel is, I don't know if you currently have that as part of your program already, but getting our girls tested regularly, at least once a year. Again, I know that funding and everything can be a challenge, but that really helps you understand what is the reality, and whatever that you're giving them right now in terms of any sort of nutrition plan or any sort of थोड़ा आप जो भी आप खाना दे रहे हो, whatever, is that really helping? Can be only determined really from maybe testing them and things like that. So is there a possibility to sort of again have that as part of your program, that there is maybe once a year, maybe basic test, not everything, but basic testing क्या हम कर सकते हैं लड़कियों की, because that gives you a real picture of
What are the tests you're looking at, Aditi, if you can mention? Is it basic
so
blood test or
yeah,
any?
basic blood tests like hemoglobin levels check karna, vitamin D levels check karna, calcium check karna. It's a very general जो आप जनरल टेस्ट करते हो, लाइक एज जनरली ऑल्सो, वो भी आप अगर आप टेस्ट कर पाए, और उनकी एक मेंस्ट्रुअल मतलब एक, it doesn't have to be a test on menstruation, but just having some checks on क्या उनकी पीरियड रेगुलरली चल रहे हैं, आर दे ऑन अ रेगुलर साइकिल, आर दे हैविंग देयर पीरियड every month, sorry. ये जो छोटी छोटी चीजें हैं, these checkups can help you figure कि because a lot of these things are connected to nutrition and what's going on. So I think this testing, and especially for girls, the menstrual cycle testing, both these things can help you understand कि आपका जो भी nutrition plan आप कर पा रहे हो या दे पा रहे हो, उसका really क्या help हो रहा है. And also to make a good funding requirement, अगर आप अभी nutrition specific funding नहीं मिल पा रही है, तो अगर आप ये टेस्ट करते हो, तो आप एक इम्पैक्ट स्टोरी बना सकते हो कि यार ये मेरी लड़कियों की बेसलाइन है, अगर मुझे इसको बेटर करना है, उनको खेलना है, कूदना है, जो भी करना है, अगर मैं उनको खिला नहीं पा रहा हूँ या उनके पेरेंट्स उनको खिला नहीं पा रहे, they are never going to be able to sustain whatever I'm thinking about. So I think that is one thing that might be a game changer if that is possible to do. The other thing that I would say is in terms of and what we have seen happening a lot is actually especially for this sort of children and these sort of families, there are actually some really good government schemes. I don't know if if you already have access to them, or have you already started use them in your spaces, but there are actually government schemes. There are government schemes on menstruation, there are on pads, on nutrition, on all of these things that are there available, but a lot of these families don't know about it. So and it is just about getting access to it. And I mean, there are different parameters, but a lot of these, if you're saying that they come from really challenging backgrounds and daily wage laborers sort of backgrounds, a lot of these schemes might be open to them. So giving them information about these schemes, so that in addition to whatever you are doing, if they can get access to food, supplements, nutrition, tablets, whatever it is, schemes, I think that is another thing that you might be able to help them with. they do and getting them access to these nutritional sort of schemes that government run. And these are massive schemes actually with some really big budgets. So that is another thing that maybe you could also look at as an option. But this is a longer discussion, and but I just feel that this testing wala part, getting specific funding for nutrition and looking out for schemes in your region, in your areas, in terms of how these schemes can help your athletes or your families that you cater to, in terms of getting more access to maybe better food and better nutritional sort of facilities.
Thank you so much, Aditi. If you can share some this nutrition a document where I could probably use that for our to create an impact story or something, if there is readily available. I think it will be help. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, Liz. We can take one last question, Renu, and then we can.
Yes, I don't see anyone raising their hands as such. I'm missing some. There was somebody, I guess. I don't know. Okay, one question from the chat we can pick up.
Yeah, I think Dhaneshwar has asked us 2-3 questions over there, and Dhaneshwar, for 100% इस सवाल के उत्तर आपको मिलने वाले हैं, but ये हमारे अगले सेशंस में आपको मिलेंगे, because ये बहुत relevant questions हैं, और I think हमारे जो sports scientists हैं, nutritionists हैं, जो who are going to take these next sessions are going to actually answer all of these questions for you. So I'll just recommend कि इस session को छोड़ के अगर आप जो हमारे specialists आने वाले हैं in the next 6 to 7 sessions, उनको ये जरूर पूछिए, because they will be the right people to give you these answers, because I think these are important questions, and I'm sure that they will get answered in the next few sessions that we will be doing with our nutritionists and specialists that are going to be on board. So I think, hope that helps, Dhaneshwar. Okay. Thank you. Okay, so Renu, is that it then? I think we have already crossed the mark.
Yes. That's it. So lastly, one very important thing. So I know there was some sort of technical issue a lot in the beginning and all of that, but make sure that you try to join at least 10 minutes before. So in case I'm not able to put that option of removing the option of you being there in the lobby, so at least I can put add you guys in the meeting and during that session. So there will be other moderators who will be taking care of all of this. But lastly, just one feedback form will be shared in the group. I hope that all of you are there in the announcement group as well as in the Q&A group. Q&A group you can use to interact and ask us questions, even if it's not even when we are not having a session maybe. But I request all of you to please not spam that group so much. Only relevant things you can share there. And yeah, that's it, I guess. But the feedback form should be filled by all of you. And one last thing, whoever attends all the 8 sessions will receive that certificate and a resource that will be created by our experts. So it is very important to attend all the 8 sessions. I know the timings are going to be slightly difficult for you all to manage, but this is very important, and that is why we had our first session where we were just trying to address the challenges that a female athlete faces, so that we understand what needs to be worked upon. So we'll be learning about more about the strategies or solutions related to all of this. And the next session will be taken by one of the LGMU experts. His name is Richi Kirwan. So the session link again will be shared in the group one day prior to the seminar. And yeah, any questions, any doubts related to anything, you can put it up in the Q&A group. So I think that's it. Aditi, you want to add anything else apart from this?
No. I think, I mean, I'll just encourage everyone, like Renu said, please be there for all the sessions, because they all make sense, and we have curated it in a certain way so that you can step by step understand this thing a little better. So, just be there for all the sessions, and yes, use the forum intelligently. Like she said, don't spam it, and because there are, be respectful of others who are on the group as well, and ask relevant questions, questions that really will matter for the group, and as a group. So I think that is the second thing that I would say. And the third thing that we would say is, I'm a little not happy with the thing that we have gone over, and we started a little later on the time, and we will be on time, and we will start on time, and we'll also be ending sessions on time, because we have to be respectful of the guests who will be coming in and their time as well. So requesting everybody, like Renu said, to be there beforehand, and not join in late and then ask, the slide is not here or the slide is not there, and no, that it cannot be catered to. So we'll start on time and we'll end on time, so just please be respectful of the time part of it as well. So yeah, so I think that's it from my end, and thank you so much for all of you who have come in, and thank you, Renu, for starting off this really amazing webinar that even I'm really looking forward to. I think this is first of its kind for the Indian sport ecosystem, and I really feel that there should be many of these going on parallelly also. So very excited to what we are all going to learn, thanks to everything that you have curated for this series.
Yes, thank you so much, Aditi. Thank you all. See you all in the next session. Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
सिस्टम छोड़ ले भाई सिस्टम में छोड़ ओके ओके